When Detective Laura Bennett arrived at the isolated radio station on Red Creek Mountain, the first thing she noticed was the smell. Not decay, not rot, something else. Burnt metal and ozone, like the air after a lightning strike. The second thing she noticed was the silence. No hum of equipment, no static, no wind. Just a thick, oppressive quiet that pressed against her ears like water. The station manager had called it in 3 days earlier. "My night DJ didn't show up for his shift," he'd said. "His car's still here, doors locked from the inside, but he's not answering." When the local sheriff finally got the door open, they found the booth empty, the equipment still running, the microphone live, and playing on loop over and over, a recording of the DJ's last broadcast. 7 minutes of audio that made no sense. 7 minutes that shouldn't exist. Laura was brought in because she specialized in the strange ones, the cases that didn't fit, the ones other detectives quietly handed off. Red Creek was 3 hours from anywhere, a tower perched on a mountain ridge that serviced a 20-mile radius of logging towns and truck stops. The station was small, local, the kind of place that played classic rock and took call-in requests from the same 8 people. The missing DJ's name was Connor Hayes, 29. Been working the graveyard shift for 2 years. Quiet guy, reliable, no enemies, no debts, no reason to vanish. His car, a beat-up Honda Civic, sat in the gravel lot, keys still in the ignition. His wallet was on the console inside the booth. His jacket hung on the back of his chair. His coffee sat on the desk, still half full, a skin of mold growing on the surface. Before we go any further, if you're already hooked, drop a comment below and let me know what you think is happening. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button. Trust me, you don't want to miss where this goes. Laura pulled on gloves and stepped into the booth. It was small, cramped, soundproofed walls covered in old band posters and faded stickers. The main console dominated the space. Sliders, knobs, monitors, all of it still powered on. The on-air light glowed red. She hit play on the saved file, the one they'd pulled from the system. Connor's last broadcast. The recording started normal. Connor's voice, smooth and easy. "You're listening to KRCK, Red Creek's rock station. It's 2:47 in the morning, and if you're still awake, you're either working hard or hardly working." This next one goes out to Julie from Marcus. He says he's sorry. "Hopes you're listening." A song started. 3 minutes of Aerosmith. Then Connor's voice came back. "All right, night owls. Taking calls if you've got 'em. Lines are open." Or he paused. "Wait, hang on." Silence for 5 seconds. Then Connor again. Quieter. That's weird. Rustling. The sound of him adjusting his headphones. "I'm getting something on the emergency band. Some kind of... I don't know. Hold on." More silence. Then a new sound bled into the recording. Faint at first. A signal. Rhythmic. Pulsing. It sounded like Morse code, but wrong. Too fast. Too layered. And underneath it, something else. A voice. Distorted. Speaking in bursts. Connor's voice again. Shaky now. Okay, that's not supposed to be there. I'm not broadcasting that. I'm not even patched into that frequency." "What the hell?" The signal grew louder. The voice became clearer. It wasn't speaking English. Wasn't speaking any language Laura recognized. But the tone was unmistakable. It was calling, summoning, commanding. Connor's breathing picked up. If anyone's hearing this, I don't know what's going on. Something's wrong with the system. I'm trying to shut it down, but..." A loud electronic screech cut him off. When it faded, Connor was whispering, Oh God, it's saying my name. And then, clear as day, from the distorted voice on the signal, Connor Hayes, come to the tower. Connor's voice, barely audible. How does it know my name? The recording continued. Footsteps, the sound of the booth door opening, wind, and then nothing. 7 minutes total. The last 30 seconds were just dead air, and that pulsing signal, repeating, till someone finally turned the system off 3 days later. Laura replayed it 4 times. Each time, the hair on her arm stood up. She checked the logs. The emergency frequency Connor mentioned was an old civil defense channel. Hadn't been used in decades, but according to the station's system, it had been active that night, broadcasting from somewhere close, somewhere on the mountain. She interviewed the station manager, a man named Earl, 63, chain smoker, hands that shook. Connor was solid, he said. Never missed a shift, never drank on the job. I've listened to that tape 100 times. I don't know what that signal is. I don't know how it got into our system, but I know one thing. Connor didn't leave on his own. Something took him. Took him where? Laura asked. Earl looked out the window toward the transmission tower. A skeletal structure of red and white steel, rising 200 feet into the air, blinking red lights cutting through the fog. Up there, he said quietly. That's where the old equipment is. That's where the signal would have come from. Laura hiked to the tower that afternoon. The trail was overgrown. No one had been up there in years. The tower itself was fenced off, rusted chain link with warning signs, no trespassing, high voltage, danger. The gate hung open. Laura pulled her flashlight and stepped through. The base of the tower was concrete, old graffiti, broken beer bottles, but something newer caught her eye. Footprints in the dust, leading to a metal ladder that climbed up the tower's interior. She looked up. The ladder disappeared into darkness. She called out, Connor Hayes, this is Detective Bennett. If you're up there, I need you to respond. Silence. Then, faintly, from somewhere high above, a voice, distorted, layered, wrong. Laura Bennett, come to the tower. Her blood turned to ice. That wasn't Connor. That wasn't human. But it knew her name. She keyed her radio. Dead static. No signal. She tried her phone. Same thing. The mountain had swallowed her connection. She should have left. Protocol said, wait for backup. But something pulled her forward. She grabbed the ladder and started climbing, rung after rung. The air grew colder. The wind picked up, howling through the steel. 50 feet, 100. Her arms burned. And then she heard it. The signal. That same pulsing, layered sound from the recording. It was coming from above, from the top of the tower. She reached a platform. Narrow, metal grating. In the center sat a piece of equipment she didn't recognize. Old, military-looking. A transmitter, covered in dials and switches, and standing in front of it, Connor Hayes. He faced the edge of the platform, staring out at the dark forest below. He didn't move, didn't react. Laura called his name. He turned. His eyes were wrong, empty, black. His mouth moved, but the voice that came out wasn't his. It was the voice from the recording, layered, many voices at once. You came. Connor, Laura said carefully. I'm here to help you. We need to get you down. Connor Hayes is gone, the voice said. He answered the call. He came to the tower. Now he is part of the signal. What signal? Laura demanded. Connor's mouth twisted into a smile. The one that's been waiting. The one that's been calling since 1962, when they built this tower, when they thought they could contain us, broadcast us, control us. But signals don't die, Detective. They echo. They spread. They find new voices. The transmitter behind him sparked. The signal pulsed louder, and Laura realized with creeping horror what she was looking at. This wasn't just a radio tower. It was a relay. Something had been trapped here. Something that lived in frequencies, in wavelengths, in the space between stations. And every time someone broadcast from Red Creek, every time someone turned on the signal, it got a little stronger, a little closer. How many? Laura asked. Connor tilted his head. How many have answered the call? 12. Over 60 years. 12 voices. 12 hosts. And now. He stepped toward her. 13. Laura backed toward the ladder. I'm not answering anything. You already did, the voice said. You heard the recording. You climbed the tower. You came when we called. Now you're part of the signal. The transmitter flared. The pulsing became a scream. Laura felt it in her skull, in her teeth, in her bones. Words she didn't understand but somehow knew. Come the tower, come the tower. Broadcast forever. She ran, scrambled down the ladder. Boots slipping, hands burning. Connor didn't follow. He just stood on the platform, watching, smiling. When she hit the ground, she sprinted. Didn't stop until she reached her car. She radioed for backup, told them to shut down the station, to destroy the tower, to burn it all. They didn't listen. The station manager insisted the tower was safe. A county engineer inspected it and found nothing wrong. Connor Hayes was declared a missing person. The case went cold, and the station kept broadcasting. But Laura knew. She'd heard the signal. She'd seen what it did. And some nights, lying in bed 300 miles away in a city with 1 million voices and 1,000 signals, she still hears it. Faint. Underneath the static of her radio, underneath the hum of her phone, the pulsing, the layered voice calling her name, telling her to come back, to come to the tower. She never returned to Red Creek, but the station is still there, still broadcasting. And every few years, someone new goes missing. A DJ, a hiker, a driver who stopped to make a call. They all heard the same thing, the same signal, the same voice. And when search teams find their cars, their wallets, their lives left behind, there's always one constant. The last thing they did was climb the tower. KRCK still operates today. You can stream it online if you want. Classic rock. Call-in requests. The same 8 people. But if you listen late at night, when the programming goes quiet, you might hear something else. A signal. Faint. Layered. Pulsing. And if you listen long enough, you might hear your name. Calling you. Telling you to come. To climb. To answer. Don't. Because the Red Creek radio case was never solved. Connor Hayes was never found. And the tower still stands, still broadcasts, still calls, waiting for the next voice, the next host, the next person foolish enough to answer when the signal says their name. And once you're part of it, you don't leave. You just broadcast forever. One more voice in the static, one more echo in the frequency. The tower never forgets. The signal never dies. And the call is always, always open.